Welcome back to the show today. We're talking about good defense and bad defense. There are guys that are notoriously good at defense, and there are players who are known for being an absolute faucet. But what makes a player good or bad at defense? Surely there are no players walking around the court waiting for their time to score again. Well, yeah, there kind of are. Usually what this looks like is a guy cosplaying as being a defender, meaning he's facing the right direction, maybe he looks like he's on his toes a bit, he kind of shifts around when the ball's moving, but he is not locked into what the offense is doing. He's not very quick with his lateral movements, and he doesn't fully understand what good defensive positioning is, causing him to accumulate fouls very quickly. Defense is weird because it's more seen by the eye test than it is stats at the end of the game. For instance, Baron Davis led the league in steals twice. Allen Iverson led the league in steals 3 times. Neither of these dudes were ever on an all-defensive team. In fact, Allen Iverson was known as a bad defender because in order to achieve all those steals, he had to do a bunch of risky lunges for the ball. And blocks are not an indicator of good defense either. Miles Turner led the league in blocks twice, and he's never made a defensive team. So besides just watching an NBA game and deciding which player is going the hardest on D, how else can we know who's excelling on the defensive end of the floor? Well, we'll talk about that at the end. Let's start with the stuff we can see with our eyes, starting with team defensive lapses caused by players being out of position. I'm going to start with Russell Westbrook as an example from his time at the Lakers. And I hate to pick on Russ again, but when there's a 4-minute compilation of you being out of position, I gotta use it to cut clips. Defense is a team strategy, and oftentimes Westbrook would come over to double team players when they didn't need to be. Russ should just stay home on his man. This goes back to my Allen Iverson point. Russ always goes for the steal rather than being patient and waiting for the offense to make a mistake. This impatience often leads to Russ ball watching and leaving his man open. Ideally in offense, every player is moving and switching to stay on their mark. The offense will pass the ball around until the shot clock inevitably runs out. While this is effective, it is also tiresome and boring. Lazy defenders will often cheat over and try to get a steal or force a turnover, but that is not the smartest move. On the other hand, sometimes players should double team. This is called help defense. If a player is driving the lane, the team should collapse on that player, cutting off a high percentage shot and forcing a more difficult shot, or a pass out to the perimeter for a very low percentage shot. But sometimes bad perimeter defense is a strategy. There was a season where the Heat kind of left every player open from the 3, just let them shoot and hopefully get the rebound. If the opposing team isn't particularly good at 3-point shooting, good defense isn't that important. But at this point in the NBA, you'd be hard pressed to find a team that doesn't have 3 players that can shoot an open 3 at 40%. Good defense switches and it stays on their man, which is a product of good communication and intuition. Here we can see the Warriors switching on defense when the pick comes. And if they switch and it creates a mismatch, one of their bigs can come over and help them. If the defense is moving as a unit, the offensive team will never get a clean look. Every shot's going to be contested, provided the defenders are giving maximum effort, which is very important. This is something that Draymond Green does very well. Here's Draymond guarding LaMarcus Aldridge. In terms of height and wingspan, Aldridge has like 7 inches on Draymond, but Draymond uses his body and his center of gravity to knock Aldridge off balance. If an offensive player isn't balanced, he can't jump and utilize his height advantage. He's forced to bounce off the defender and shoot a shot moving away from the basket, which is pretty low percentage unless you're like Dirk Nowitzki. So the only other player that I think is actually better than Draymond at this is PJ Tucker, who can guard players that are significantly taller and stronger than him. The best example of this was in the Eastern Conference semifinals in 2021. Tucker guarded Kevin Durant for the entire series, who is not only one of the greatest offensive players of all time, he's 7 inches taller than PJ. Now, PJ by no means shut Kevin Durant down. He got 30 points basically every game. His goal was to slow him down, which he did.
Because it's like, okay, oh man, that was incredible. You made that. Now do it again. Now do it again. Because I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop.
Tucker was always in Durant's chest. He never gave him space to do anything. Nothing was easy for Durant. Durant was never balanced. Every shot he took was in a tough position, forcing him to miss or be blocked by a player who was ready for him, like Bobby Portis. A low shot is a low shot, even if the person shooting it is 7 feet tall. Tucker embraces his role as a defender. You can tell he takes pride in his work. He fights over every screen, and you can tell he takes it as a personal failure if his guy scores. He's fine playing an entire game, scoring 0 points if his team wins at the end. Then there are players like Trae Young, who literally never really learned how to be a defensive player. This may seem like I'm being hyperbolic, but I'm not. Now, Trae is one of my favorite players in the league, and honestly, I think he's a little bit underrated. But regardless, mentally, he's not engaged on defense. In this clip, we see the Bucks exposing Trae Young because he's forgetting to play defense. We see the Bucks allowing Trae to shoot a deep 3. That's a very low percentage shot, but he does make it every once in a while. Any defender with a decent IQ is not even going to put their hand up. The Bucks know the shot's probably not going in, and they also know that Trae is going to watch the ball to see see if it does go in. This allows them to send Drew hustling down the court for an easy layup, while Trey is sulking at his missed shot. And here's an example of Trey just kind of moseying around the court on defense. He doesn't know who his man is, and he's not really trying to help. He's just waiting on a missed shot or maybe a turnover so he can go play on the side of the court he knows how. You can tell how unified a team is based on their defensive effort. If guys are being lazy and they're letting the other team shoot, or they're not picking up the ball, they're gonna start pointing fingers at each other. No one's gonna want to take responsibility. Team defense is all about accountability and taking pride in your responsibility as a defender. This was something that Devin Booker really struggled with early in his career. Devin Booker is one of the most well-rounded shooting guards in the league right now, but that was not always the case, man. In his first couple years, Devin Booker was a good stats, bad team guy, and the Suns were bad. Booker was an absolute sieve on defense. He was totally lost out there, thinking as long as he got a hand up and was running around, he was playing defense. It wasn't until Chris Paul came and gave that team some leadership. Say what you will about Chris Paul, but that guy's a dog on defense. Chris Paul led by example, and that team became one of the best defenses in the league. These are professional athletes. All of them are capable of great defense. It's just a matter of whether or not they're gonna apply themselves. And I understand, because shoe deals and max contracts kind of go to the gunslingers and the ankle breakers. Defensive effort is not appreciated like offensive skill. But if you want to see who the real underappreciated defenders are, check out the hustle stats on NBA.com. The NBA tracks things like deflections, contested shots, loose balls recovered, charges taken. In other words, the dirty work, the things that don't sell sneakers. Right now, Shea is leading the league in deflections, and that's why he's third in the MVP tracker. And leading the league in loose balls recovered, dang, it's Shea again. This dude should be in the conversation for DPOY as well. And leading the league in three-pointers contested, you're not gonna believe this, it's Shea. So for as much love that Shea gets, I don't think it's enough. This type of effort is contagious. I think it's part of why OKC is having such a great year. It's because of Shea's leadership and effort on the defensive end of the floor. Alright, thank you for being here. If I missed something, if there's another aspect of defense I should have talked about, I'll make another video and I will always reply. Like or dislike the video, I don't really care. Eat a corn dog, be good to your mammy.